Right? Like, at least the way I saw it as a Christian and as a newer Christian, I was very much in control of everything. I remember thinking, God, I'm so glad that I sort of stumbled across salvation, that I've discovered this doctrine. I didn't know that it was actually God who was pursuing me and had rescued me from my sins. When you first hear about this, it sort of makes you feel small. It's scary, in fact, because the truth is we like to be in control. Some of you more than others, right? Like, we want to have control, and the idea that God is the sovereign king, that there isn't one molecule outside of his power, at least initially for me, and I don't know if it's like this for you, but at least initially for me, it kind of made me mad. Like, how dare you, God? Don't you know that I'm the one who chooses the destiny of my life? Like, you're supposed to work for me. God is the sovereign king, and the doctrine of God's decretive will at first shocks many people when they hear it, but it's really meant to comfort us. You think about, again, what Jesus said related to the sparrow that falls. Look, God is attentive. He knows everything about you. There isn't one thing that happens to us that God is unaware of, that God doesn't see. Charles Spurgeon, he wrote, "There is nothing for which the children of God ought more earnestly to contend than the dominion of their master over all creation." The kingship of God over all the works of his own hands, the throne of God and his right to sit upon that throne. On the other hand, he wrote, "There is no doctrine more hated by worldlings, no truth of which they have made such a football as the great, stupendous, but yet most certain doctrine of the sovereignty of the infinite Jehovah. Men will allow God to be everywhere except on his throne. They will allow him to be in his workshop to fashion worlds and to make stars. They will allow him to be in his almonry to dispense his alms and to bestow his bounties. They will allow him to sustain the earth and to bear up the pillars thereof, or light the lamps of heaven, or to rule the waves of the ever-moving sea. But when God ascends his throne, his creatures then gnash their teeth. And when we proclaim an enthroned God and his right to do as he wills with his own, to dispose of his creatures as he thinks well without consulting them in the matter, then it is that we are hissed and execrated. And then it is that men turn a deaf ear to us," Spurgeon said. "For God on his throne is not the God that they love. They love him anywhere better than they do when he sits with his scepter in his hand and with his crown upon his head. But it is God upon the throne that we love to preach. It is God upon the throne whom we trust." And isn't that right? Like, the only God we can trust is a God who is on the throne. It is God upon his throne of whom we have been singing this morning. And that's true for us today. We've been singing about the Lord God upon his throne.